Hello, I'm Sheridan Malone, and this is a little lesson about double stops. Now, what are double stops? They're little two-note pairs of plucked strings. One day I figured out that for every combination of strings like F and B flat and C and A and G, there was a little combination of two notes that actually work, that can be used for intros, outros, playing melodies, really doing a whole bunch of different things, which we'll talk about later. But for this lesson, one of the things that you really need to follow is this little sheet. It's a ukulele double stop sheet, and it's got a little road map of the neck that you'll be able to follow if you come through the lesson okay. And so first thing to do is you can get a copy of that from my Facebook page. My name is Sheridan Malone. I'm a singer-songwriter from Northern California. Or you can go to my website, sheridanmalone.com. And there you can find a PDF. If you find it on my Facebook page, you'll see just a little picture of it. Display the picture. It'll become full size. You can right-click it and save it as a JPEG. So it's simple to get a copy of it, and it's free. So first thing to do is make a copy of this, and then you'll have an understanding of what's going on. One of my friends calls my little road map a fingerboard twister. Well, that's probably a good nickname for it. But in any case, the first 5-10 minutes of this, I think what we'll do is we'll show some of the shapes and what you can do with them. Don't be intimidated by the length of the little picture. We're actually going to start very simply, and so even if you're not an advanced player, you'll be able to follow this. So we already know that they're two-note pairing. So they're, technically they're parts of a chord scale, and they work whether you play a soprano or a concert or a tenor ukulele like I have here with a low G. High G works the same for all the positions. And just for the purposes of this video, just so we understand each other, is that when I talk about moving up the neck, I'm actually going this way. When I talk about the strings from G, C, E, A, they're going to be strings 4, 3, 2, 1, with 1 being the highest or the A string. Okay, so let's learn the 5 chord shapes. Now, if you look at my chart, there's an F chord. One of the reasons I like to start with the F chord, I've been teaching this workshop for a while now, is that you're actually playing the notes and the strings. If you're going to pluck strings, basically 2 and 4, to get that position. So the thing that you want to do, and this may be a little slow for people who already know how to do these things, so for the first couple of minutes, bear with me. So anyway, the first thing to do is to learn how to move from one position to the next. And I always like to say, well, if you look at the F chord and you go to the next position, this is moving from the red spots to the yellow spots, your middle finger is only going to move 1 fret. And at that point, your 4th finger or 3rd finger is going to actually drop parallel to it on the 2nd string. And then you can actually keep your top finger in the same place, so you can just slide back down. So if you can learn to do that, just make the F chord and go up to the next one and come back. If you look at the chart, those 2 shapes repeat themselves all the way up the neck. So that would be like this. That shape stays the same on 3rd. There's 4. That stays the same. And that's the whole scale. So that's F. So now what I want to show you is, this is really great, is that the fingers you're using to play F, if you move them toward the top strings and play strings 1 and 3, you've got B flat now, and it's the exact same shape. So let's go back to F just for a second and see if you can go from the red to the yellow. Now do it on B flat. Now, since you've learned those, let's learn the third position as well. So here's F. Here's the second position, yellow. And if you take that position and slide it up 2 more frets, that's your third position. So the same is true for if you practice it. That's starting to sound like something familiar, but let's move it to B flat. Same positions. Slide up to the 5th fret, the 3rd fret, and back home. There's F again. And for you advanced players, one of the things that's interesting to note here is that shape, those 2 shapes, move all the way up and down the neck. So if that's F, and you start a half step higher, now you're in F sharp. And actually, if you start there on the 3rd fret, that F shape, you can do this. Slide over. Well, that's one demonstration of how that works. Now let's learn some of the other shapes. Here's G. Now if you go down and play your E chord, like this, you'll notice it's the same fingering as what I'm using for the A chord. And why? Because the patterns are the same. When you play the A chord, your top finger, that finger, is going to move up 1 fret, and then your 3rd finger is going to move to that finger, that fret, and that's how you play that pattern in A. So if you use this same pattern that I'm using on these 2 strings, where I'm on the 1st fret of the 3rd string and the 2nd fret of the 4th string, take that pattern over to the first 2 strings on the 2nd fret, now you're in G, and the same pattern works for G. So let's now look at C, which on the chart is actually off the neck. So it's the 2 middle strings, and the first position is just like that G position. If you took that and moved it over a string, and you put your first finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, and your 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, that's where you start the 2nd position, or the yellow position. And there's the green. So for when you're playing C, it's... So just a quick review. Here's F. Here's B flat. Here's A. Here's G. And here's C. Okay, so these, if you learn just the first 2 positions to get your fingers used to moving, you'll be able to play the 3rd position really easy, because you only have to slide it up 2 frets more. So when you're learning this little roadmap, the double stop thing, you're not often going to use the entire scale. What you're going to use is mostly the first 2 and 3. And here's another technique that, these will work for a number of different styles of music. So blues, country, sometimes bluegrass, gospel, or folk. So in those kinds of music, you actually take that position that you just learned, that, let's say with F, and you're going to move chromatically between the second and third position. So instead of going, you're going to go, and you can move that in either direction. Same thing for B flat. Same thing for A. Same thing for G. Here's G. And remember, once you get to the second position, you're not changing the finger shape. You're just sliding it to the next fret. So here's C. Okay, now you have the basic shapes, but one last note. These 5 shapes were chosen because they kind of help fit a common chord shape for most of the string pairs. So if you look at the chart, it'll say, okay, there's strings 4 and 3. There's strings 4 and 2. There's strings 3 and 1. There's strings 2 and 3. And then there's also strings 2 and 1. So those 5 chords will get you almost every shape. And be aware, just like I showed before, is that you can take any shape and move it up. Start in any position. In this case, F moving up 2 frets becomes G. You can do Brown-Eyed Girl. Well, not perfect, but... So, let's look at some other ones. These little double stops work not only for intros, outros, and fills, but you can actually play harmonic melodies for a whole bunch of tunes. If you look at my website, you'll see, and on my Facebook page, you'll see that I have tab and score for some simple tunes like This Land Is Your Land. If you start in F, watch, it's almost in all the positions. And that's pretty simple. You can also do another one in the same key. I like playing in F because that seems to lend itself to a lot of songs. You Are My Sunshine. So I also have a tab and a score for that if you're curious in learning that. That's how you play melodies. So, and I did a little video of Your Cheatin' Heart, which I'll show you a little bit. This is in C, so it's like, your cheatin' heart will make you weep, F. You'll cry in G, and try to sleep, but sleep won't come the whole night through. Your cheatin' heart will tell on you when tears come down like falling rain. You'll toss around and call my name. The time will come when you'll be blue. Your cheatin' tell on you. So the other thing, these little pairs don't have to be plucked. You can see I'm already doing some different things, and for different kinds of music, sometimes you can just slide them like that little blues, that instead of, that happens to be in C, but I'm using the B flat position. If you take, and I'm on the first and third string, and I'm going, if you alternate, it becomes a blues run, and you can do that. It can go the other way too. So these are really kind of fun to play around with. So let's look at some other examples of how you might use it, like on a country ballad. It's like you can do I've had nothing but sorrow since you said we were through. There's no hope for tomorrow. How's the world treating you? Every sweet thing that mattered has been broken into two. All my dreams have been shattered. How's the world treating you? So that's an example of that one. And another one, Emmylou Harris song, Love and Happiness. Here's how you slide the positions. Here's a wishing well. Here's a penny for any thought it is that makes you smile. Every diamond dream, everything that brings love and happiness for you. There's an example of how you can use the fill as an entire run up the neck to close out the song. So let's look at some other examples. Here's a little gospel tune. If you Google Who Will Sing For Me with Earl Scruggs and the Foggy Mountain Boys, you'll see Earl is playing a guitar capoed at the 5th fret. And he's playing in the key of A. And he's doing this little thing where he does a thumb lead, a double stop run, and then a little blues pickoff. And it sounds like this. Oft I sing Okay, there's more. Here's a little combination of fingerstyle picking and double stops for an old folk tune, Pack Up Your Sorrows. This is an F. If somehow you could pack up your sorrows and give them all to me, you'd lose them, might have used them, give them all to me. You can also do that run. A lot of these patterns happen in more than one place on the neck, and that's what really makes this fun. Okay, so how about a Spanish song? All right, what about De Colores in C? De Colores. You want to do the intro for it? You do this. So that's pretty simple. So let's do a quick wrap on this little lesson. You can find some of the songs that we've demonstrated on my website and on my Facebook page. I'm trying to learn to score and tab. So if that's useful to you, please, check those spots out. And you'll find I'll put up the tab for De Colores. I'll try and do some other ones too that are not too hard to learn. But just in a general principle, I think the thing that's most important is that on these positions is you can learn them, use them as a kind of a pulse fill, or you can slide them, or you can use them as a blues chromatic run, or a rundown. And so really there's a lot of ways you can do. You can slide them, you can pluck them, you can do a whole bunch of different things with them. The trick is start simple. Learn the first two positions and you really will have learned the ticket to the twister road map going up the neck. And it's kind of fun. I'm still exploring these things myself. I don't claim to be an expert, but I think if you try it, you'll find a lot of ways that they can fit. And with that, I'll close with a little song I like to do, another Spanish song. It's called Solamente una vez, and it's a beautiful arrangement I saw on guitar, but I like it for ukulele. Solamente una vez. esperanza que alumbra el camino de mi soledad. Una vez nada más se entrega el alma con la dulce y total renunciación. Y cuando ese milagro realiza el prodigio de amarse, hay campanas de fiesta que cantan en mi corazón. Una vez nada más se entrega el alma con la dulce y total renunciación. Y cuando ese milagro realiza el prodigio de amarse, hay campanas de fiesta que cantan en mi corazón. Have fun with double stops. I'm Sheridan Malone. Check my page on Facebook or my website, sheridanmalone.com.